Hello students, I hope you are fine. In this plus 2 class chemistry video lesson, today we are going to continue with chapter General Principles and Processes of Isolation of Elements. Till now we have studied first two steps of metallurgy. The first step is crushing and grinding of the ore and the second step is concentration of the ore. And now we will study the third step, that is how a crude metal can be extracted from its concentrated ore. Since most of the metals can be easily obtained from their respective oxides by reduction, so concentrated ore is firstly converted into metal oxide, which is then reduced to get free metal. For example, if we want to obtain crude copper from concentrated copper ore, the concentrated copper ore is firstly converted into copper oxide and then this copper oxide is reduced to obtain copper. Thus, the isolation or extraction of a metal from concentrated ore involves two major steps. First is converting ore into its metal oxide, and the second step is reducing the metal oxide into the metal. Let's look at each step. Concentrated ore can be converted into its metal oxide either by calcination or by roasting. Let's study how these methods work. Calcination is a process of converting an ore into its oxide by heating it strongly below its melting point either in the absence or limited supply of air. It is usually carried out in a reverberatory furnace. This method is commonly used to convert carbonate ores such as calamine and dolomite into their respective oxides. Also, the hydrated ores lose water of crystallization during calcination. When calamine, that is zinc carbonate, is subjected to calcination, zinc oxide is formed and carbon dioxide is liberated. Similarly, when dolomite, which is a double salt of calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate, is calcined, it gives calcium oxide, magnesium oxide, and carbon dioxide gas. When hematite is calcined, it loses its water of crystallization. The other method for converting an ore into its oxide is roasting. It is the process of heating an ore in a furnace with a regular supply of excess air at a temperature below its melting point. This process is commonly employed for sulfide ores. For example, when sphalerite or zinc sulfide is heated strongly in excess of air, it gives zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide gas. Lead sulfide is heated in excess air at about 600 degrees Celsius to give lead oxide and sulfur dioxide gas. When copper pyrite is subjected to roasting, copper is produced in the form of copper matte, which contains copper sulfide and iron sulfide. Roasting and calcination converts an ore into metal oxide and makes it porous. It becomes porous because the volatile impurities are expelled and the moisture is removed during roasting and calcination. If the calcined or the roasted ore still contains non-fusible impurities of earthy matter, an additional substance called the flux is added during the reduction process. Therefore, flux is a substance that chemically combines with gangue, which may still be present in the roasted or the calcined ore, to form an easily fusible material called the slag. The slag melts at the temperature of the furnace. It is insoluble in the molten metal and also being lighter, it floats over the surface of the molten metal from where it can be skimmed off from time to time. Two types of fluxes, that is acidic fluxes and basic fluxes, are used depending upon the nature of the impurities present in the ore. Acidic fluxes like silica and borax are used for basic impurities like lime or metallic oxides such as calcium oxide, iron oxide, etc. Basic fluxes like limestone, magnesite, hematite, etc. are used for acidic impurities like silica, phosphorus, pentoxide, etc. Now, metal can be obtained from metal oxide by its reduction. If the metal to be extracted is very reactive like the alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, and aluminium, then the reduction of the oxide can be done only by the electrolytic method. The oxides of less reactive metals such as iron, zinc, copper, lead, tin, chromium, etc., can be reduced by a number of reducing agents such as carbon, carbon monoxide, or even another metal. When carbon is used as the reducing agent, it combines with oxygen of the metal oxide to form carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. For example, carbon is used to reduce zinc oxide to metallic zinc. In this reaction, carbon monoxide is released. Generally, heating is required to convert a metal oxide into metal with a suitable reducing agent. The process of extracting the metal by heating the metal oxide with a suitable reducing agent is called pyrometallurgy. It is observed that some metals are easily reduced and reduction occurs at low temperatures, but others are reduced with difficulty and the reduction occurs at high temperatures. It is thermodynamics that helps us to understand the variation in temperature required for the thermal reduction of metal oxides and to predict which element will suit as the reducing agent for a given metal oxide. Delta G, that is Gibbs free energy change, is the most important thermodynamic term here. We know that the change in Gibbs free energy of a reaction, that is delta G, is a measure of the thermodynamic driving force that makes the reaction occur. Delta G for any process at a given temperature is given by the equation delta G equal to delta H minus T delta S, where delta H is the enthalpy change, T is the absolute temperature, and delta S is the change in entropy during the reaction. For a spontaneous process, delta G is negative, while for a non-spontaneous process, the value of delta G is positive. It can be seen that for a reaction where change in entropy delta S is positive, the reaction is spontaneous at a sufficiently high temperature, as the magnitude of T delta S exceeds delta H. If the reactants are in equilibrium with the products, the Gibbs free energy change can also be expressed in terms of equilibrium constant K with the help of the equation delta G naught equal to minus RT natural log K. As you can see, in this equation, delta G naught can be negative only if K is positive. This can happen if the reaction proceeds in the forward direction, that is, the reactants combine to give the products. It is important to note that the two independent reactions can be coupled and are feasible provided the overall delta G for the two reactions is negative. This coupling is particularly useful for the reduction of oxides of elements. Such coupling reactions can be easily understood in terms of Ellingham diagram. Ellingham diagram consists of plots of standard free energy of formation of oxides per mole of oxygen versus absolute temperature for formation of oxides of elements. These plots not only help us to determine ease of reducing an oxide of given metal oxide to the metal, but also to predict the feasibility of the thermal reduction of an ore. An Ellingham diagram for oxides has several important features. The first feature is that the graphs for most metal to metal oxide reaction show a positive slope. Consider a general reaction for the formation of an oxide. 2M plus O2 gives 2MO, where M is any element. In this reaction, the entropy decreases as the product forms from the reactants due to the consumption of oxygen gas. Hence, delta S becomes negative. Thus, if the temperature is raised, then T delta S becomes more negative. Since T delta S is subtracted in the equation of Gibbs free energy change, delta G becomes less negative. Thus, the free energy change increases with an increase in temperature and hence the plots show positive slope. The second important feature is that the Gibbs free energy change follow a straight line unless the materials melt or vaporize. The temperature at which such a change occurs is indicated by an increase in the slope on the positive side. For example, slope of zinc to zinc oxide line changes around 800 degrees Celsius. Similarly, the slope of magnesium to magnesium oxide line changes around 1120 degrees Celsius. The third important feature is that when the temperature is raised, a point will be reached where the graph crosses the line delta G equal to 0. Below this temperature, the free energy of formation of the oxide is negative, so the oxide is stable. Above this temperature, the free energy of the formation of the oxide is positive, so the oxide becomes unstable and will decompose into the metal and oxygen. Another important feature is that any metal will reduce an oxide of another metal that lies above it in Ellingham diagram. Thus, aluminium reduces iron oxide, chromium oxide, and nickel oxide, but aluminium will not reduce magnesium oxide at a temperature below 1500 degrees Celsius. Ellingham diagram also has some limitations. One is that the interpretation of delta G naught is based upon equilibrium constant K. Thus, it is assumed that reactants and products are in equilibrium. But this is not always true. Another limitation is that although these diagrams suggest that whether a reaction can occur or not, they do not say anything about the rate of the reaction. On the basis of the thermodynamic principles and Ellingham diagram, let us study the reduction of a metal oxide with carbon. The process of extracting a metal by reduction of its oxide with carbon is called smelting. During reduction, the metal oxide decomposes as shown in this equation. MXO decomposes to give XM plus half O2. The liberated oxygen is taken up by the reducing agent. If carbon and carbon monoxide are used as reducing agents, then the reaction can be represented as C plus half O2 gives CO. CO plus half O2 gives CO2, and half C plus half O2 gives half CO2. As you can see, the second reaction represents the incomplete oxidation of carbon, while the fourth reaction represents the complete oxidation of carbon. The reduction of a metal oxide can thus be represented as MXO plus C gives XM plus CO, or MXO plus CO gives XM plus CO2, or Mx plus half C gives Xm plus half CO2. As you can see, overall reaction 5 is the sum of reactions 1 and 2. Reaction 6 is the sum of reactions 1 and 3. And reaction 7 is the sum of reactions 1 and 4. Now, if the overall value of delta G is negative for these coupled reactions, then the reaction will be feasible. The values of the free energy of formation for these reactions can be obtained by subtraction of the free energy of formation of the oxides. Alternatively, without going into the calculations for delta G, we can still predict the feasibility of a reduction process simply by looking at the Ellingham diagram. Metals for which free energy of formation of their oxides is more negative can reduce those metals for which the free energy of formation of their respective oxides is less negative. It means at any given temperature, any element will reduce the oxide of other element which lie above it in the Ellingham diagram. Because the free energy change for the combined redox reaction will be negative by an amount equal to the difference between the free energy of formation of the two oxides at that temperature.